of times, unlike a smoke, if you're playing an Echo or you're playing a Maestro, you usually need to stay safe because you have to stay alive. Rogue is the first ban on attack. Who are they going to take an option? Ying. They're going to, even though they played Ying on Clubhouse themselves, particularly Slash in that very final round. We only got to see it once because they only had one attacking round. They're going to take Ying out of the fray.
Yeah, big ban, a really big impact attacker for the most part. Talking about impact attackers, that's going to be Lion getting rid of, so it does limit the universal factor that Rogue may want to go for, but then this does leave the option for Dokkaebi to be picked, and we did see Lion and Dokkaebi both being banned out last time in Clubhouse, so then having the Dokkaebi available also plays into that same big impact operator, which can win you your gunfights 9 times out of 10. First defending band is going to be the Bandit being gone, so that is probably one of the picks that we never see getting banned at all.
I don't even remember if Bandit's ever been banned.
No.
Period. This is probably going to be a Mira is my guess. Oh no, an
Wow.
Echo. All right, so all of these bans defying conventional logic. This means that Mute is going to be particularly important because he's going to have to shoulder all of that weight. There will be no active Bandit tricking because you can't mute trick. But I wonder if the Bandit ban likely coming out as a response to the fact that no Heart Breachers were taken off the board, which means that an exothermic charge as well as the X-Karos from both Hibana and Thermite will be available, and it's not super strange to see teams run both Hard Breachers on border. Typically because you'd have the Thermite maybe deal with one of the two walls, either the back of the office wall in Archives or maybe the Armory wall to start things off, as Armory Lockers Archives is usually always the default starting spot here. Easily is likely going to flex off of Castle. Rogue has actually done this a number of times. Rogue will lock in a Castle right off the bat so that people think that they're going to a site that isn't Armory Lockers Archives and then immediately switch off. And there you go, you get the Mute instead.
Yeah, very good pickup, like you said. You're expecting the Mute to, in combination with the Mira. No Thermite on the side of FaZe, which is quite worrisome. Whenever we see that Mira's going through, you need to use your X-Kairos pellets to get rid of that Mira window, so then you're wasting your hard breach potential to burst into the bomb site. So having both of them would make it a lot more flexible and adaptation. Potentially, if you lose your Hibana to a spawn peak, which is common on border, then you still have your Thermite to rely on and vice versa as well. So certainly a lot of potential for Rogue to uproot this FaZe attack if they do get the early picks.
The Hibana is going to be interesting to say the least, and I would suspect that we're likely going to see a B take with this composition. They know that they can't Bandit trick it. You have the grenades there as well from Mav, so it's going to be very easy. They can just drop a grenade over top of B, possibly use the X-Karos to open up the panel that Brian is currently reinforcing, and then you can just push your way in. If I'm Rogue, you have to station somebody downstairs in Ventilation Workshop, in particular the workshop area, and you have that open hatch there. Somebody is likely going to drop on out. Usually that's where Slash will play as the Pulse, because you give information to your team, but also can lob that C4 up through the open hatch to stop a push in through Office.
So just touching upon that Pulse as well, it gives you more of that intel gathering factor as well if you're going to play him inside of the bomb site, so that does give Rogue a lot more of adaptability whenever they can figure out exactly where FaZe are going to start pushing from. FaZe, however, they're going to try and get to the roof first of all and drone out this office area. Typically you wouldn't do this unless you're really wanting to push in towards that office, so that could be a potential push for FaZe. Mav, he may be looking to go for the quick rotate onto the ventilation unit, but that's not going to be the case. It's a very typical area that some members do put themselves in, and that really does lock down most of the B bomb site from that one window.
Yeah. So they've full control of CCTV at the moment in favor of FaZe. As you can see from Rogue, they are all in the site, so you don't have anybody roaming whatsoever. Every member of Rogue playing within the confines of both A as well as B. Interesting to see that Slash isn't bothering to do anything underneath the site. He can possibly rotate down at some point, but they're going to situate him behind the mirror window. I was wrong about it possibly being a B take. It might have been to start off with, but Moringa will use 2 of those rounds of X-Karos, of 3 to open up the Armory wall. They will have to vault in, though. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but they can just not walk their way in. Because Moringa only has 1 remaining, it looks like he was trying to use it on the mirror window. Could have possibly been inside of small office. It would have help take one of the prongs away from the defense here.
Big C4 kill coming out from Easily, using that mute C4 to the best of his advantage, as that will be Gohan getting taken out. A big fragger for FaZe clan will be eliminated from the entirety of this round. Brian as well has rotated himself in towards the A bomb site as well, which is exactly where you need your smoke to be, and this is where the gas canisters can start to be thrown out and start delaying FaZe just that little bit more, as you did see Astro as well use a smoke grenade. So that is going to be one utility down for FaZe clan, and also the second one is going to be used as well.
Answered by their own Toxic Babe. One of the things that is currently working against FaZe by quite a bit is that there's a mute jammer behind that mirror window in small office. That's the reason why they have not been able to get those XKROs off to take the mirror window out of action as well. The two members that are currently standing on that mute jammer do not have to worry about possibly receiving a phone call. Easily gets a kill as double from Astro and Moringa as they will jump into action. Slash with a big C4, but Astro, last man alive, will have to go for the plan, and it's Geo with the C4. Tons of explosives being brought out by Rogue, all used appropriately and all netting some substantial success. That will technically be 7 rounds in a row for Rogue, dating all the way back to Clubhouse, and it's a good start for the North American squad.
Yeah, very strong start from Rogue. This has been the same similar format we have seen every single map, where Rogue have took the first round and then they have proceeded to essentially take the second one as well in most cases. I wonder if we're going to be seeing the same similar type of way if Rogue do continue this type of aggression that we've seen a lot more from Rogue. It's typically not the standard that we're seeing. Possibly that may be because they've completely switched up their playstyle to get ready for the Paris Major. Look at Secret, they were not ready at all yesterday for that aggression for Rogue, and whenever a team like Rogue really do want to take out your main fragger, your main slayer for your team, then certainly it causes a lot of issues for your team, puts a big spanner in the works for most of your strategies. Look, for example, yesterday, Leon Gids for Team Secret, a big player for them. Every single time Rogue were able to get the first kill onto that player.
Leon Gids, in all defense of Leon Gids, that's typically how Secret use him, though. He's very aggressive. He typically will go for spawn peaks. He'll typically try to take fights, and I would imagine that more restraint would probably go a long way, keeping him alive, because we've seen him be so clutch in the dying moments of rounds to help his team out. Obviously, somebody that has that strong fragging potential, as you said, dying early, being the opening death leader of a game is not exactly a mantle somebody wants to put on. But we'll see what happens in that Orgless matchup, as I'm sure it is underway at the present moment. The winner of that match, need we remind everybody watching, will face off against the loser of this match. Could it possibly be Rogue? And could it possibly be Secret? Would we see a rematch? Could it possibly be FaZe and Orgless? Would we see a rematch there? Or could it be any of the other combinations available to us? Rogue right now, at this very moment in particular, must have a lot of momentum behind them. It did appear that FaZe was a little frustrated just from their appearance, body language, etc. after that matchup against Rogue. And obviously getting 6-0'd, probably not good for morale.
No, it's certainly going to put a bit of a dampener on things inside of the FaZe and the FaZe lineup. But if they want to make sure they do get into that final, they're going to have to get their way out of this. They're going to have to drag their way into this matchup. They need to get these next couple of rounds on the board. If they go into a 3-2 with the switch, then certainly FaZe are looking fairly confident in themselves. But who knows, Rogue could perform the exact same way. We've seen them on Clubhouse where they had that first round and then they just took every other one. So it is very feasible that Rogue could go for the sweep once again. And FaZe, they're still not bringing the same kind of aggression. Typically we would see the first pick by now, but for some reason it's still very slow between both of these teams. It's something to touch upon in Clubhouse, but then again, that is Clubhouse, where it is Kill City in the last 30 seconds. Border can be sometimes like that whenever you do push in towards the armory, but for the most cases there typically is a few picks within the first 2 minutes.
Especially on this side in particular, you could find yourself in a position where, as we get a good aerial view of what exactly is going on, cameraman holding this angle for the last like 40 seconds, waiting to see if somebody is going to possibly fight him here, but for the time being, no, nobody's bothering to take the bait. It's not unusual for this site in particular of the four for a lot of passive play, as you need to gather every bit of information, clear out that second floor, and then begin to push on the main floor. FaZe, for the time being, have not done enough of a job taking care of that second floor. Geo, Eclipse, and Slash are all currently still above the main site, and that will be a problem for FaZe, as just for a second there, Slash will reveal his elbow and take almost a mortal blow, but only 40 seconds left. A C4 will go off just in front of Cameraman. Will not hit him. He'll remain unscathed. Gohan playing on Sandwich. Phone calls will go out, and this means that the position of the Rogue players will be revealed. Eclipse will just give himself away for free. He wriggles away on the floor, easily dropped by Mav, and Slash still very low on HP, but Brian will get the first kill for Rogue as the diffuser goes down. This is a tough situation, but a possible retake is at play, as Geo will get one to equalize. 3v3. Slash is very, very low, need I remind you, but will still get a kill, even with 1 HP, capable of fragging out, and that will be Cameraman. As Gohan swings in, Brian is there, Mav is last man, he's got the SMG-12, 2 for Mav! He's in a great position to clutch. It's going to be all up to Brian. Last time around with Mav, he was able to stealthily defuse. Mav will give his position away for just a second. He only has a couple moments left, and this is it. It's going to be out of time, and Mav with the big clutch! That's what FaZe needed. Brian just simply running out of time, and FaZe is alive. They will tie things up.
A very tough retake there for Brian. He has to watch two angles, that being the doorway that Mav did kill him from, but he was also cautious of that window, which equally Mav could have rotated around. He is still a 2-speed, very flexible in his movement, so certainly by no means a hard clutch for Mav, really. It was very simple for him to get the call-outs and just peek the way he did. So certainly FaZe, they needed that round. It gets them back in the game, gets their morale up. And certainly we are going to be having a fairly good showing here on board with the way that things are starting to plan out.
So there's still a pulse on the body of FaZe. And Rogue will get a second crack at Ventilation Workshop. Rogue did an exemplary job of holding that second floor, killed so much time, but they got a bit too aggressive as FaZe breached their way in through Armory and begin to attack over towards the Archive part of the map, my apologies. And that was needless, and Eclipse basically just very slowly worked his way around, and well, you can't really do too much. He found himself in a very vulnerable position. That was an easy pick for FaZe, and they just kind of kept the ball rolling down the hill at that point.
So we're going to go back downstairs once again with Rogue. Typically, we could see, for the most part, we usually do see a bit of a change-up if bomb sites don't work for some teams. We could have seen the tellers or even the customs come out, and whenever you're talking about customs defense, typically Mira isn't there on border. A lot of teams do ban out the Mira, but for these circumstances, we see the Mira, so it does make that bomb site a lot more viable in terms of the upstairs control inside security. So certainly that could have been an option for Rogue. I'd imagine it's going to be the exact same setup from Rogue, where they have the Mira windows upstairs, the more aggressive hold. They're not going to allow FaZe to get as much control as they can and start ripping into all of that destructible flooring. Border, still one of the most destructible maps inside of the map pool. It has been like that for quite some time, and also them castle barricades are going to be used for a good intel to where FaZe are going to be pushing from, because if they get destroyed within the first couple of seconds, yeah, you know exactly what way they're going to come in from. And even in the final couple of seconds, if FaZe have to go for an adaptation and have to rotate, that could stop the push indefinitely.
I'm very glad that you mentioned Customs and Mira, because they are intertwined with one another. We've seen teams successfully hold Customs without her because, as you pointed out, Mira is banned out most of the time. It's actually quite a shock that Mira isn't at this point. The Bandit ban was a bit of a surprise, but you know, you can't say the same about the Echo. It stands to reason that Echo would be removed, as he's a very strong operator in his current iteration, especially after the buffs and the semi-rework he got, which was changes to the Yokai drone and then to the number of Yokai drones. But when Mira is typically banned, we do see the bathroom typically ends up being the place where a lot of teams will instead prove to play, and it typically ends up being more defender favored, at least from the few instances that we've seen. Anywho, we see a pretty typical setup from Rogue here. They've been running an awful lot of Mute, and in conjunction with the Castle, just to try to slow things down. The Mute did a great job on Bank of keeping FaZe from being able to take map control away, but it's not the be-all and end-all of FaZe. They've been able to get some pretty good coordination under their belt when need be and still be able to push, even if the mute jammers are slowing them down.
Yeah, certainly having that bit of disruption for the drones of FaZe can come in pretty big within the last couple of droning phases, especially whenever they're looking to attack this top floor bomb site. Being able to deny that drone coverage can help keep the members of Rogue alive just that little bit longer to see out the disruption off the top floor primarily. Cameraman is going to start working on that mirror window along with Gohan, who is also going to be stationed on that single window. So they're starting to try and pressure Slash a lot more, but 40 seconds to go. It seems to be almost the same repeat that FaZe fell into last time, where they're trapped in this tunnel vision kind of sense where they're trying to focus on one thing rather than looking at the overall objective.
They haven't even been able to get inside of Armory. At this point, FaZe was able to burst in, Cameraman get a kill, but that hasn't happened. Not quite yet, at least. Gohan repelled up on Sandwich Window was a strong position for him to be, but they're going to have to just simply go for the site and go for the plant without these kills that they got last time around. In fact, when Cameraman tries to push in, last time his success, it will be met with misery and failure this time, as it's Slash getting the kill. The Ash will go down, and Eclipse stops Moringa from planting in his tracks, but Mav is there to get a kill. He's been real good the last 2 rounds. On Repel, Gohan, a Clay Pigeon, as Slash will shoot him out of the air, and Rogue will just simply wait the clock to 0. This is FaZe with very poor time management. You can see that Rogue shored up their issues last time around and were able to do what I think their intended strategy was the first time. Also, as we head into round number 4, they've unlocked Armory Lockers and Archives, so even though there was a loss in one of the rounds, they will go back to a site that they have previously won. That's a good position for Rogue to be in.
Yeah, equally you could say if they win this particular bomb site, then they're going to have to go for the different one, which could be customs, more than likely going to be customs, because we discussed quite heavily on the fact that Mira is going to be allowed free, which is still quite surprising on a map like Border, certainly. So the Armory Lockers and Archives for Rogue, fairly standard setup for them, more or less. It's almost the exact same lineup that they did bring last time, where they have the intel gathering with the pulse, a bit of disruption with the mute on easily, and certainly the heavy anchors from Smoke and Mirror, the great combo that we didn't get to see last time inside Clubhouse, but we will be seeing both of them brought this time.
So a nice 6 pick there. Onto a Thatcher. It would puzzle me that we weren't seeing more Thatcher play to try and take care of these mute jammers, but with how reliant Rogue is being on mute at the moment, it was formerly Geo, now easily will switch on to that role. It stands to reason that you'd bring the EMP is because a Twitch drone can still be countered by cleverly placed mutes or even potentially just by being shot, whereas outside of an ADS, you really can't do much to counter that EMP. So Rogue's second final crack at defense, as they are currently leading and poised in a position to possibly take this, but same with FaZe. It really depends on whether we view this as more defender-sided or not. The fact that Mira is in play would suggest to me, along with both hard breachers being available, that the defense would be in a good position. But Thermite and Hibana both available with no Bandit, it's going to force teams on defense to play very differently because you won't be able to deprive the attackers of that potential utility. I am a little surprised that we really haven't seen Thermite play coming out from FaZe. Could just possibly be that FaZe feels much more at home and comfortable running that Hibana. She certainly still has her uses here, but possibly even just a switch up to the exothermic charge and what it brings to the destructive capability of your attacking lineup could be what's needed, as FaZe doesn't want to see this attack slip away from them.
Yeah, we talked about earlier inside of the first round where they didn't decide to opt for bringing both hard breachers, so if they did have that, it would make their attack a lot more flexible in what they can do, and especially whenever, for Armory, the bigger the hole, the better for pushing in with your smoke canisters on Astro with his 2 smoke canisters, and even just to get a couple of nades lobbed in as well could also be a really big factor. And just talking about X-Kairos, those will be going down on the main wall. They still are going to have to try and get through a mirror window as well, so that's going to be the big stopping power that Rogue have over FaZe, unless they're going to try and get the other one as well. They're going to use the last X-Kairos pellets to get rid of that mirror window, which I'm sure will happen. They have the Thatcher to get rid of the mute jammers as well. Slash maybe looking to go for the C4 toss, which could have worked there. Look how close Moringa is.
He's just right now flirting with death. Moringa is just an explosive blast away, and Easley's going to just get a couple shots in himself, but there goes the EMP, and this will open things up. It also happens to take the C4 down. Slash waits just a little bit too long, and the C4 explodes in midair. Moringa will now get that mirror window, and there you go. A C4 as Easley will unleash it this time. Slash doesn't need to do it. Brian from behind the mirror will take some damage as the mirror window explodes. FaZe have managed to take out a pretty critical spot for Rogue and a really important impediment that was stopping them. But Easley will add to the body count as Gohan falls. That is the Twitch with great fragging potential who look to be working her way in through the staff break room. Mav will get the first kill for FaZe. That's Eclipse, who will be no more, but that's the Jaeger. That is not a high impact target necessarily. Astro working his way in through the armory door will probably kick off what I would imagine is the rest of this execute. From below, Mav will just miss one of the defenders as Slash can still stay alive and will be very important in this push.
Easley is going to get a kill on the Astro, but the quick refrags from Cameraman does take out that mute. 2 versus 2. Cameraman and Mav have to be the saving grace as Cameraman gets a great shot onto Slash. Geo stuck inside of the 2v1, gets the kill onto Mav. T4 gets tossed out. Does he get it? He does! And Geometrics gets the clutch for Rogue, and they will be taking a hefty lead against FaZe Clan.
I've called him Sleepy Geo before, but Geo is 100% awake. Amelia with a nice toss, and that's a nice phase up, bruh, that he can give to his opponents. So Rogue managing off of the heroics of Geo in the dying minutes to keep that round in the win column for them, and they will now have to go to one of either customs or bathroom tellers, as you very astutely mentioned, because of the site rotation, and it appears the bathroom tellers will be the way to go. Interesting, and they will do so without a Mira. Now, this is one of the few sites on all of the sites that we see on all the different maps that does not rely on having a Mira window. Typically, the way that Bathroom Tellers is going to work out is you're going to defend upstairs. Right as I say that, Brian is going to switch onto the Mira. It is possible to do this site without a Mira window, but if she's available, take her. Not a requirement. A lot of teams will put those mirror windows upstairs in the office area, possibly even downstairs in bathroom, looking into ventilation workshop stretch of real estate.
Yeah, just touching upon that that office area, that's going to be the main focus that Rogue want to defend, because then that denies all of the access that FaZe can use. It is going to have a big drop hatch that goes right down in towards the B, and also a bit of destructibility that can be used, as that a bomb site can be destructible from above. So that's going to be another reason why Rogue certainly want to try and hold it down as much as you can. So you touched upon that we weren't going to see the mirror, but then the 6th pick, and you said, yeah, you can do it without the mirror window. That's mostly because it is one of the smallest bomb sites we have on border. So having a mirror window doesn't really affect it that much whenever typically teams still just try and hold from above, and you can even open the drop hatch if you're that confident, and then use that drop hatch to the defender's advantage if the attackers manage to get in towards that B bomb site. A really isn't used as much because then you have a lot of drop hatches and rotations that then the defenders can use, as you do see that archives hatch being opened that Rogue can use if Habana wants to try and go ahead and get rid of those walls beside the A bomb site. So certainly a lot of things that Rogue need to focus on and defend, but if they do it well, then FaZe will have an extremely harsh time actually picking up this win on this particular bomb site.
The times that we see teams be able to get into the bathroom and successfully pull off a plant is only after that entire second floor is cleared out, and then you'll see them usually head to those 2 concrete walls in the shower stall and manage to get the plant off around there, and then have somebody possibly watch from workshop to make sure that if you're getting pushed, usually at that point the only way you're getting pushed from is tellers, and then you just need to hold one single angle as they try to funnel in. Ends up being the undoing of some pretty good teams. Gohan, who has yet to find the scoreboard, will try to use his Twitch drone to grab one of the mirror windows, but it looks like both of them have now disappeared, and that is not great for Gohan to find himself in. That's a heartbreaking time because he can't get those mirror windows, and he can't get those mute jammers either. And then you see there's no Thatcher being brought from FaZe this time around, though they will manage to sledge the one castle barricade of the defenders playing inside of office upstairs.
I'm liking this strategy that FaZe are going to try and go for it and actually toss them needs over that little bit of an opening you have right above that wall. So certainly you can use that to the best of your ability to potentially frag that mirror, but that ADS did manage to save one of them, but the other one did go in. Great shot from Astro, great coordination from Astro, and also the sledge that will be able to take out Eclipse. And the pushing from Astro, he's just going to go for it, and he gets the kill to easily as well. So 5 versus 3, and this is what Rogue did not want to happen, is to allow players like Astro to pick up this speed and start getting these kills.
It's going to leave Brian upstairs with a lot of work cut out for him. Though time is currently on the side of Rogue, there's not a ton of time that's left for FaZe to be able to perform this execute. It's still going to continue to tick down as Astro sustains some damage, and Gohan is now the one that's going to try to find Brian. And with 30 seconds to go, it's a 5v2. Rogue look like they're going to remove themselves from the split by a scoreline of 3-2. Geo trying to get back to site, but will not be able to do so. And that's FaZe getting another on the board for them. That is a round that they really needed to win.
Yeah, a big round win for FaZe. That does square up 3-2, so it does give FaZe a little bit of a fighting chance going in to these next couple of rounds, and it will be FaZe on the defense, and then it will be Rogue on these attacks. So we're going to see the swap for both of these teams. It will be curious to see if Rogue are going to stick with only bringing the Hibana. We know that Thermite is available this time compared to the Clubhouse, so certainly if they want to go for both of them, like we touched upon, where, yeah, it definitely is feasible bringing both of them because it gives you that reliability and the adaptation that you can bring. Equally, looking at the side of FaZe, they're going to be bringing the Doc for the first time, an operator that doesn't see a whole lot of play, still has a great gun in the form of the MP5, has the ACOG as well, so you can challenge a lot of long angles. And on border, where it does have a couple of long quarters, certainly that could be the case. And whenever we know that Rogue do bring this heavy nade strategy, look at that, Sledge and Buck both being brought. If the nade does manage to down a player of FaZe in an awkward position where they cannot get the rev, then certainly Doc could be the great provider to getting his teammates up.
The one thing that you mentioned about Thermite as well is that Rogue does have a natural Thermite player on that team. So it's not like a team like, say, Evil Geniuses, who almost never run Thermite. For Rogue, they definitely have one. And speaking of, even FaZe, who didn't look like they had a natural Thermite player either, Rogue is quite comfortable putting Easily on that position and having him be able to help out as they transition from, you know, the ability to do the site destruction and then move into a plant scenario. Instead, they're going to run with the Hibana here. And I mean, you can really bring either of them as long as you're confident enough that you don't need that huge avenue into the site that an exothermic charge brings, because you might not get the ability to move freely into the site that you would get with an exothermic charge, but you get a significant increase in fragging potential. Somebody like Easily, who is very consistent with his gunplay and great at hitting his shots, will have a smaller magazine in the Type 89, but will then have the bearing there if need be to pull it out. Could also be like a team like FaZe Clan, which is chock full of great marksmen and good shooters. That could be why they were running the Hibana too. Of course, being the 3-speed doesn't hurt. So, Rogue will get their first crack on attack in what is a 3-2 scoreline as we start off the second half here of our final map on this channel of the day, and we will see our final team advance to the quarterfinals. Already Vitality, G2, and Evil Geniuses have secured their places in the final 8 and will play in the playoffs on Friday once the official event begins. One more team will join them from the group stages today. On the other channel, we see that there's a match going on between Team Secret and Orgless. The winner of that match will play the loser of this one. The loser of that match will go home. So in case you're curious, because I know somebody will ask, no, this is not the last you will see of Rogue or FaZe Clan, and no, the loser does not go home.
Yeah, certainly if you do lose this matchup, you still have another chance to redeem yourself tomorrow. Of course, you're still going to go against either Secret or Orgless, which is no easy task either, two very strong teams inside of EU. So certainly that could be a potential great matchup for tomorrow as well. And that will essentially be the last match that we will have of the group stages as well, will be the Group D playoff. But certainly Rogue are looking poised to go for this this take and get ready for, I'm sure, a very frenzy round.
And this is a potential big mistake here, but the 3 grenades that get tossed out 2 by the buck of Slash, and 1 from Geo will not down the dock of Astro. It will blow the hatch beneath his feet. He will fall down to Workshop and then will heal himself back up with his stim pistol. It could have been a major blow to FaZe's chances on this round, not taking a Jaeger with them. We know how important Jaeger is on this matchup. And on Border in particular. Rogue has assembled themselves in offices to look for a pretty classic B take, and the final grenade will hit Gohan, and they will not secure a kill with any of those 4 frag grenades that were available, as they have used both sets of pairs on both the Buck as well as the Sledge. But dying moments of round number 6, and FaZe's 3 bodies downstairs. They've got a C4 of both Cameraman and the C4 of Mav positioned in Workshop as Astro works his way up the stairs, possibly trying to get back to site. But Cameraman, one of the 2 bodies that are downstairs, will be taken out by Eclipse. That's the Zofia, who's now going to work on trying to take care of Mav. Moringa trying to rotate will get caught by Slash, and the diffuser goes down, and nobody is any the wiser. Though Valkyrie will take out Eclipse, that was the 1 player from Rogue, trying to take out the site, or the players that were beneath the site. The ACOG of Astro will work its magic, and that is Brian falling victim as Slash picks up his 2nd kill, and that's Gohan. Only 2 members of FaZe left, and they have half the diffuser to go with. Astro will get downed, but will stim himself back to health. Slash will pick up his 3rd kill. Mav will have an MPX in his hands as he works against some pretty pesky opponents. He has only a quarter of that diffuser left. Slash in prime position. He'll pick up a nice 4K from Spencer as Rogue finish out the round. The first attack for them will prove to be successful, and they are only 2 rounds away from joining the other 3 teams in the quarterfinals on Friday.
Big plays from Slash, one of the most notable players inside of that team, probably the most decorated, I would say, as well, with the amount of experience he has. You know, even looking at Slash, he had time at Evil Geniuses at one point as well. He's been about quite a bit, but certainly his Rogue lineup is looking very strong at the moment against FaZe Clan, who they just did not have, I would say, the room presence that they needed to have. Sure, they had the Valkyrie downstairs, but if she's not going to do anything, then why would you play her downstairs if you're not going to be able to get one of the simplest C4 kills that you can get? Possibly the Valkyrie camera could have been shot, so they couldn't relay that information, but then you could just bring the pulse. It's not going to be banned out, which does the job, I would say, a whole lot easier.
I have to imagine that the communication had fallen off dramatically. They've had both Cameraman and Mav downstairs with their C4s in hand, but the possibility to stop a plant with the C4 was interrupted by Eclipse entering on a solo mission downstairs to make sure that the presence in Workshop that was had by FaZe would not see any success on potentially stopping that plant. Not to mention the fact that the plant going down inside of Archives meant that the C4 from Mav would have had to have come towards the bathroom, which is where Eclipse was playing, and Mav was situated closer towards the A-bomb, playing by the ventilation wall. So it just was a matter of timing. Mav couldn't get to where he needed to go because of the looming threat of Eclipse downstairs. Now, Eclipse eventually ended up getting killed by Mav, but it was after the plant went down, and then when you're trying to transition in that post-plant stage, you don't really want the MPX to be the gun in your hand.
Yeah, certainly. Still another point, talking about the way that Mav killed Eclipse, it allowed him to go in towards the bathroom area. Slash was played right above that bathroom area. He got 2 kills before anything was said. That could have been the easiest kill for Mav. He had a C4. Could have got that kill on the Slash, and that could have been a potential retake because Slash was the guy who stopped Mav from going for that. So that could have been another option that FaZe could have went for. Again, it's hindsight. We can see it a lot better than they can, but still, it's something to look back on, and it is an option that potentially FaZe can adapt and work on.
Now, one thing that does, I think, need to be explained for viewers and for people who have never played this game in a LAN setting. The number of rotates that have been shut down, and people say, well, why would you rotate there? Even us, we have said, why would you rotate there? It's because a lot of times when you're playing online with a ping variable and the way that the servers and the tick rate works of the game, you can get away with those kind of rotates. You can use your speed, if you're a 2-speed or a 3-speed, to make those rotates and know that your opponent isn't going to be able to hit those shots because of the limitations, because of the ping, the netcode, and the servers. That doesn't exist here. So a lot of these rotates that teams are used to making to escape those hairy situations, they can't do that because their opponents are able to capitalize and punish them. That's something to keep in mind too. And that's what ended up leading things off with the smoke of Moringa as he tried to push his way around Sandwich by the lockers. He gets picked off. Why would you make that rotate, why would you try for that risk? Well, there's a possibility. Eclipse eliminates Astro. The Jaeger down, and they won't make a mistake. They will take a Jaeger down, and humorously, the next kill will be a frag grenade onto Moringa. Rogue right now will start it off with 2 kills in the first 90 seconds.
That's going to be a big operator off the board for FaZe. Big kills for Rogue is Moringa, who is the smoke, who is one of the biggest operators for this. But that is going to be Brian getting the C4 kill, as we've seen the risky run out from Mav. And that is going to shut him down. So a 2 versus 5, and FaZe Clan are just falling apart at the seams. It's as if a book has been thrown into the deep water with no hope of survival. Certainly Cameraman is trying to hold down that B window as well as he can, and Gohan, honestly, he is in no position to help him at this stage.
No, this is a rough round for FaZe, and I don't know if it's the frustration maybe getting them or not. Gohan will at least be able to get 1 kill to possibly tip this towards FaZe's side, but Cameraman will take some damage and then get downed now as well. Diffuser planted successfully. Gohan, last man alive. He'll get 1 kill to add to his 1 already onto easily, but that is Rogue now moving to match point. You got to imagine the frustration from FaZe is definitely there, but Rogue looks pretty calm to cool, pretty calm and cool and collected. Maybe in a good position to lock this one out and finish things off.
Yeah, certainly Rogue is one of those teams with the very established mindset. They know the job they need to do. Looking at yesterday's game whenever they were against Secret, they were 5-1 up. Still calm, cool, collected. You're a big, massive lead, but they know it could still have been a comeback, which it almost was as well against Secret. So, yeah, certainly that would give Rogue a little bit of a fright that they have to worry about, that anybody can come back. Siege is that kind of game where stuff like that does happen. So, certainly, Rogue are going to want to make sure they can pull this out.
This might be a little belated, but FaZe has taken their tactical timeout, staring down the barrel of match point. Try not to be too critical of what we see of the way that FaZe has played. FaZe has only been able to put together 2 rounds in the previous 13. That's a pretty bad ratio by any stretch of the imagination, or by any explanation. But why do you use your tactical timeout when you're on match point? You're in a position where, it's 4-2. You're heading into the split, a perfect opportunity for you possibly to take time to reflect on what you've done and really get your mind out of where it is, which is probably anger, probably frustration. Because if you can't just put those rounds on the board, it's going to eat up. It's going to eat you up. You can see we're going to head into the very final round. It's going to be Armory Lockers. I'm a bit surprised, in all honesty, that FaZe would bother to try this site a 3rd time. The first time, you actually did a better job of holding it than you did the second time. The second time, things fell apart real fast, and even though Gohan was able to get 2 kills, they were impactless frags at the tail end of a round in which you lost site control, and Gohan can't get back to site to deal with the fact that you have a full team staring you down with the diffuser planted as well. I would have suspected that FaZe would have possibly tried to go downstairs to ventilation workshops simply because you've tried this site twice, it hasn't worked. If it doesn't work a 3rd time, it's going to be pretty easy for people to say, you probably should have gone elsewhere.
It could be that tactical timeout, the coach could have put in a bit of information that he could have picked up that possibly the players collectively could not have seen. So maybe he has something up his sleeve that could help them crumble this Rogue attack. But the way we just seen Rogue perform even better than the first time, that leads us to believe that Rogue certainly have found the code that they need to crack for this FaZe defense. So, yeah, I am expecting Rogue to really push everything they have in hopes to getting this final round sealed out and move their way into the finals during the weekend.
So at stake in this potential round is a 2-day mini vacation in Paris, France, as if Rogue wins this, they, as you mentioned, don't have to come back till Friday.
2-day preparation, for example, as well.
2 days of preps. Maybe go take a couple pictures of the Eiffel Tower, which they've already done. Maybe go do it again. You got 2 days at your disposal. Right now as well, we have an update for you, so spoilers ahead. Plug your ears if you'd like. Team Secret winning round, or winning map number 1, 1-0. So for you, you know, it might still be coming home. Who knows? It certainly wasn't coming home in the World Cup. That's for sure.
Came home at Valencia, so who knows?
It actually came home here in France in the World Cup. So there you go. But Team Secret is up 1-0, and they will go to map number 2 against the German team of Orglis. 1 minute has expired in what could be our final round as we sit on match point for Rogue. As I'm FaZe, you need to get very aggressive, and that's exactly what happens. You cannot allow Rogue to take offices away from you as readily as they have, but they will drop a grenade, and Geo, channeling his inner BC, will drop Gohan, and that is a care package through the ceiling into offices.
All about these COD puns, aren't you? Little COD IMW2 fanboy.
I think it's appropriate to fit him in. As well, you got to question, where are those ADSs? Have they been burned already? Because you're allowing all these grenades to come in and wreak this much havoc. You got gadgets there designed to stop it.
Yeah, especially whenever Rogue, they have this heavy fragging potential that FaZe should know at this stage. They always bring the buck, they always bring the sledge. There's 2 operators with the frag grenade you need to worry about. 4 in total. You only have 3 ADSs, which stop 6 grenades essentially, so certainly they need to, I would say, pile them up a lot more if they're going to play inside of the office. Put 2, because then you could potentially see 2 flashbangs go in and then a need, but that need will get eaten up by the second ADS. So a lot of mind games, I would say, that Rogue certainly are putting the pressure on the FaZe because they're not entirely sure where Rogue going to push next.
A lot of drone work still going on as the final minute of this round. Slash downstairs will get pre-fired through the wall and try to take an engagement, but he doesn't see anybody that he's fighting against. Geo's already got 1 kill. He'll get a second. Pulls out the SMG-11 and takes out Mav. And Mav has been the best player for his team so far. Moringa gets killed, though, and will put us back to a 3v3. And you also lose the Hibana, so no more hard destruction available. Brian will have to rotate in. He sees the Ela, unable to land his shot. Slash with 2 big kills will leave just Cameraman. He's below, and he's going to have to pray that this C4 can do something, because as a 3 armor getting back to site for the retake, possibly getting boxed out. He'll get pre-fired from Slash, who drops a grenade, drops a second grenade. Cameraman will soldier on. Diffuser is down, but he will have to work his way through metal detectors. Geo is there, and Cameraman will get Brian. It's all up to a 1v1, a situation that we thought could be very unwinnable. Possibly could swing in FaZe's favor. But Geo does have his reticle just waiting, and there it is. Geo will seal the deal, and Rogue will have the next 2 days off. FaZe will await the winner of Secret and Orglis as Rogue joins Evil Geniuses, G2, and Vitality as the 4 teams in the quarterfinals thus far.
2 EU, 2 NA. Looking pretty good for both of those regions. Of course, we still have tomorrow, so we could see Brazilians, we could see Apax as well go through. So certainly tomorrow is going to, I would say, hold a lot more stories to tell still, but nonetheless, Rogue played extremely well throughout their matches. 6-0 and then a quick 6-2 as well, just to finish things out on Border. But of course, FaZe, they still have tomorrow to go. They're not out yet, and they certainly can bounce back. So let's take a look at some of the highlights from the game. There was a couple of memorable ones. Let's see how that did unfold.
Now, the one thing to really keep in mind here is that FaZe's commanding performance yesterday over Orglis means that if they have a rematch, it's you know, assume that they would probably prevail again. We've seen strange instances where a team will go for a rematch, then completely pulverize their opponents, and in a very confusing setup where you think, where was this the first time around? Right now, with, of course, Team Secret up 1-0, the thought is that it will probably be a rematch of FaZe to Orglis, but anything can happen over the next 2 matches. Rogue was able to keep their composure and were able to land their shots, and when it came to Border, in particular, they just looked poised. They looked ready. I don't know if that break, I don't know if the tactical timeout for FaZe really helped them at all. There was a bit of sloppiness, and it could just simply be frustration bleeding through.
Yeah, it could be all about the mind games like we've talked about. Every team just gets affected by mind games in one case or another. I would say that the needs certainly did prove to be the deciding factor for Rogue in most of their big kills. They got the first bloods from that. A lot of the time, Geo